Good afternoon, Tomi Kokko here, and I'm here with one of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the world, Charles Poliquin. Charles, how are you today?
Good, you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Now, Charles, I wanted to just ask you a few questions from you, especially considering the Finnish people. We have a lot of different habits in Finland that I think you would be a right person to give some advice.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is that a lot of Finnish people, especially, we think that we need carbs as a source of energy. What do you think of that?
Well, the thing is that for most people, 40% of the diet, that's the top limit for carbohydrates. And also, you have to be concerned more neo versus paleo carbs. In other words, did the caveman have access to those carbs? So obviously, croissant and donuts and bagels, there's no such thing as a big old treat. So I think for Finns, from what I can see, there's too far of a reliance on grains. So if the average Finn took their carbs in from any source except grains, it would be far healthier.
What would be the best source of carbohydrates?
Well, any fruits and vegetables provide carbohydrates, but that's plenty for, you don't need extra carbohydrates for that.
Yeah, correct. And what about breakfast? Like we often eat like porridge or rye bread. What would be the optimal breakfast meal?
Well, I've written quite a bit on that. It's my most popular article in the world. It's using the meat nut breakfast. I think that a lot of people, attention span, performance at work, and so on would be greatly enhanced if they use the meat nut breakfast.
Yeah, great. But what about like fats? We often hear that people are afraid of fats, especially saturated fats, and that will actually make you put on weight. Is that true?
That's completely a myth. I mean, the thing is that the grain industry is a big lobby in the U.S., and they've been, of course, pushing breakfast cereals instead of bacon and eggs. But if you look at a lot of the more recent study on saturated fats, as long as they're not taken at the same time as simple carbohydrates, it's actually healthier for you. And the research in the literature is quite solid on that.
Yeah, so you don't have to be afraid of eating saturated fats?
No, not at all, especially if you stay away from simple sugars. I mean, we've seen a lot of people's cardiovascular risks go down once they increase their saturated fat, as long as they cut back on simple sugars.
Okay, and people then say, well, what about my cholesterol level? It's going to go up to the roof? Or?
No, actually, it drops if you look at the research. The worst thing for bad cholesterol profile is actually simple sugars. So, for example, if you cut some of these simple sugars out of the diet, the first thing you see drop is triglycerides. But the cholesterol itself doesn't mean much. The ratio between the particles, yes, maybe it's thing, but inflammation in the body is a bit of a cardiovascular risk predictor. So homocysteine, highly sensitive cross-reactive proteins are far better indicated of cardiovascular risk.
Okay. What about calories? Like we always hear about counting calories per day and eating a certain amount.
It's moronic at best. Because, for example, the orange on a tree, if it's far away from the stem versus close to the core, has a different caloric content. So those tables are averages, and it's a narrow margin. Depending what the animal has been fed, also the caloric chart could be completely off. The most simple thing is eat when you're hungry. And then I'm not even into portion control. You know, people have to distinguish the difference between the mouth and the vacuum. So if they learn to eat when they're hungry and they use a more ancestral approach to food, they'll be fine.
Yes, right. And last couple of questions about dairy. We also eat a lot of dairy, especially low-fat milk. Is that?
I'm not so anti-dairy. There's a lot of people who have dairies as food intolerances, but let's say you tolerate dairy. I'm against taking away fat from the dairy because a lot of research on low-fat dairy shows that it's linked to prostate cancer. So when you alter the nature of the food, so if you're going to use dairy and you're not allergic, I would say use full-fat dairy.
Yeah, great. And lastly, there's one advice you could give anyone who wants to lose body but also live a healthy, happy life. What would be the last point of advice, especially
most simple is to cut out grains from the diet.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Charles. Much appreciated. Thank you very much.